Hey guys, welcome to the workshop. In today's video, I wanted to share with you the process of restoring this really old handsaw that I found in an attic at a job site, so stick around. Okay, so for any restoration project, I always start by disassembling it to the degree that I want to. In this case, I wanted to take the whole handle off because there was a nasty crack, and it was actually two separate pieces that I needed to glue together. And also there was a missing screw that I ended up just fabricating and finding some pieces in all of my screw bins that actually looked pretty close. Setting the saw blade aside for a minute, I'm just going to take a wire brush, try to clean off all of the debris that is still stuck on the handle. Like I said, this was in an attic, and it was a very dirty attic, so it still had a lot of cobwebs, but also had a lot of dirt and grime still on the wood. And I decided to attach this using a two-part epoxy for a couple reasons. One, I didn't want any wood glue to squeeze out that would potentially ruin the look of some oil that I wanted to put on the handle. And I wanted this to be a little stronger, and I like the epoxy for this reason. So on to the saw blade itself, and to do this I'm going to submerge this in Evaporust, and I don't have a container large enough, so I wanted to fabricate one really quickly. And this is a really easy thing that you can do for any project that you have that's maybe an odd size. I just gathered some scrap stuff I had laying around. I had a flat piece of shiplap left over and some of these crooked wonky boards, and I just stapled them together using my air nailer and cutting them roughly. So once this is together, I found it was best to just line it with a basic trash bag. This is actually a yard implement, the one that you would use for leaves and things, so it's just a little bit thicker, and it did the job quite well. So the funnest part, putting all of the metal implements in this little tray, and I wanted to lift it up a little bit, so I used the pads from some Harbor Freight clamps and allowed that to just set up a little bit so that the Evaporust could actually get underneath of the saw blade. So the handle is all dried and the glue is definitely set up, and I just wanted to give it a light sanding to just smooth out some of the rough edges just from the age that it had been sitting around. I didn't want to put any machinery to this, just a light hand sanding was all it needed. And so after hand sanding it, I wanted to apply some oil. I didn't want to paint this, I didn't want to leave it bare, so I used some Danish oil to let it soak in. And it really darkened this wood a little bit more than I would have preferred it to darken it. It is going to give it a lot more protection. Here you can see that the Evaporust turned completely black. And at first I was highly concerned to why it turned black. And I will admit that I left this thing in set for 3 days, and that's way too long. I'm going to explain what happened in a tip video. So because of all the black, I ended up sanding that off, and it actually revealed a pretty nice blade. But unfortunately, the rust had really gone in, so you can see very clearly all the pitting that had happened. And unfortunately, I was not able to get all of the black off because of just that reason alone. And here I am just going to apply some boiled linseed oil to the blade. And the main reason for that is because if you let this sit in a moist workshop, there is a high chance that you're going to develop rust on it. So this will inhibit the rust a little bit, and it also gives it some protection. It also protects some of the wood too, so I ended up rubbing it on some of the wood handle as well. Now that everything's done, I just needed to hammer in the piece of metal bolt that I used, and it turned out to be pretty good, and everything turned out pretty much how I planned it. I originally wanted this to be a little more shiny, but I didn't take into consideration how rusty this ended up being. So guys, thank you for watching this video. Please consider subscribing to the channel. I do a lot of these kind of things on this channel, and if this interests you, you will like my future videos. But thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time here in the workshop.